Enough about that. I think we should probably start the show.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay,
On that note, yeah.
Here we are. All right. Welcome back to Suspicious Minds. I am Burl, and with me, as always, is, take it away, Wade.
Oh, it's me, Wade. Yeah,
Hey.
hello.
All right. Welcome back to another show. Tonight, this is going to be kind of fun. We are talking Elvis and peanut butter.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
We threatened this episode back when we did the Eat Like Elvis Day. You know, a lot of our listeners were like, yeah, you didn't eat a peanut butter and banana sandwich that day. You know, like, what the hell? And we said, you know, peanut butter should have its own episode.
And we were right, and I'm glad that we broke that off and made its own thing after we did it, because I was like, you know, it's a lot of peanut butter. So this is our PB&E episode. Really? You know?
Yeah, that's almost a joke.
Thanks. Oh, man. Yeah, so what we did was we decided, you know, Elvis is so connected with peanut butter. And there's basically two sandwiches that I think are the standouts. And we decided to tackle both of these separately. I hope you didn't do it on the same day. You didn't do them on the same day, did you?
Oh, certainly not.
Yeah, neither did I. Okay, so we did the peanut butter and banana sandwich.
Excellent.
And then we also did the Fool's Gold sandwich, also sometimes called the Fool's Gold loaf. But I don't think that's what it was actually called. I think it's just called the Fool's Gold.
Yeah, I just think it became the Fool's Gold loaf because loaf is a funny word.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Well, and it really does describe what the sandwich is, which is, you know, on a full loaf of bread. So, you know, that does make sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, we did both of those. And I'm going to say is a pretty enjoyable couple of sandwiches there. I wouldn't want to eat them all the time, but pretty tasty.
Burl, would you consider yourself like a peanut butter person already, like in the tank for peanut butter?
Is that like code for something?
Kind of. But is peanut butter something that you enjoy, you know, on your own?
Yes. The short answer is yes. I don't eat it all the time, but I will on occasion have a little peanut butter. How about yourself? Are you a big peanut butter guy?
Oh, sure. I ate a lot of it when I was a kid. And now that I have kids, I don't know a single person with kids that doesn't have like a massive jar of peanut butter in their cupboard.
Well, probably kids with nut allergies don't have it.
Oh, well, you know, you see, that's the thing. You got to get them started early. Then they don't have them.
Is that how that works? I don't know if that's how that works. Is this what your mom group tells you?
I wouldn't look to the show for medical advice or anything.
Yeah,
but,
these
but
are
that's
only
what we
opinions.
did. I'm just telling you my truth. And that's what worked for us. But yeah.
All right.
I actually love me some peanut butter, to be perfectly honest. And preparing for this episode really reignited my feelings for peanut butter. And yeah, it's just a damn solid sandwich spread. What can I say? Yeah,
it's really good. It's pretty healthy. It's got a lot of fat in it, but mostly good fats, I think.
Sure.
Hey, as long as you get like the natural stuff, I don't want to go on a tangent about all that, but good source of protein.
Indeed it is, yeah.
That's what everybody's talking about. Getting your macros.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe let's start off then talking a little bit about the history of peanut butter itself, just for fun, and then we'll go into the peanut butter and banana sandwich and what we thought about those. So what do you know about the history of peanut butter?
Learning about peanut butter was enlightening. It was actually thought to be invented by the Aztecs and the Incas. And there's evidence that they had means to grind peanuts into a paste, which they did and consumed with great gusto.
Do you think they both came to the conclusion to do that separately? Or do you think one of them did it and then shared it with the other? Or is there any evidence of that?
Well, if I only really knew if the Aztecs and the Incas were civilizations like at the same time, I don't know. Maybe there's somebody screaming the answer at home right now. But, well, you know, it's the way that cultures borrow from each other.
Sure.
It's just the way that sort of thing happens. All it takes is one traveler to go to a new land and, hey, look at what I can do with, a mortar and pestle and like all these peanuts.
Yeah, or somebody just left a sandwich sitting around, and then like an Aztec left a sandwich sitting there, and an Inca comes by and is like, "What's this?" And like, "Oh, Oh, I know. I think we can do that.
He's like, yeah, I'm going to take this back to the rest of the Incas.
Yeah, look what I found. Yeah.
But peanut butter was not patented until the year 1884 by somebody by the name of Marcellus Gilmore Edson of Montreal.
The Canadians making their way back into the show.
Indeed.
We really dig you, Canada. But especially Martin Short.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah.
Nothing but love for Canada. I just thought that was interesting. Like peanut butter is considered this all-American food and actually, well, if not invented, but first patented by a Canadian.
And with a great name. Marcellus
really.
Gilmore Edson. What a great name.
That sounds like somebody who would invent something.
Yeah, exactly. He probably went to good schools.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
But, also interesting, patented in 1884, not commercially available until 1894, where a man by the name of George Bale from St. Louis, Missouri.
Hey, there you go.
Hometown
He was looking
hero.
at you, St. Louis.
Keeping it real for the 314. He was the first one to package it and sell it as a snack food. And, a lot of people, we just have to get this out of the way, think that George Washington Carver invented peanut butter, which he did not. But he did write what is considered to be the definitive book on peanut butter. I can't get through that without laughing.
Yeah.
The name of the book is How to Grow the Peanut and 105 Ways of Preparing It for Human Consumption.
Wow.
He wrote that in 1916. A very appealing title.
Yeah, I wonder how long that took.
Yeah, the sad truth is, the modern misconception that George Washington Carver invented peanut butter was based primarily on a 1982 Saturday Night Live sketch with Eddie Murphy.
Really?
It was like a memorable sketch from back then, and that's what people are like remembering. They're like, oh yeah, he invented peanut butter, because that was the premise of that sketch.
I didn't realize that had something to do with SNL. Way to spread the misinformation, SNL.
Yeah. It's just a premise of a memorable sketch. It's pretty wild.
So now we know more about peanut butter. We've shared it with our listeners, so now we're all the wiser. But I think one thing that we know is that Elvis, I think if you were to say one specific thing about him, like one sandwich, peanut butter and banana, I think is the thing that everybody is going to say. Peanut butter and banana, or peanut butter and nanner, or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
It's kind of synonymous with him. And I think there's a reason for that too, which is probably his longtime chef at Graceland, who was Mary Jenkins Langston. And she was the chef at his place for 14 years, from 63 to 77. And she's pretty well known for, making the rounds, especially when she had a book that came out, I want to say in the mid to late 80s. Is that when she put it out?
As near as I could tell, I think it was like a late 90s publication.
Okay, late 90s. But I know that she certainly made her rounds on the talk shows making this sandwich, over the years. I know there's a real memorable, I think it was 87. I think she was on David Letterman.
Yes.
When she did it. So, and that's a pretty good segment if you haven't watched it.
Oh, sure. Just the old Letterman show in general. Just fantastic.
Yeah. But yeah, it's, if you watch it though, it's like she just has like no idea of like where to stand for the cameras. So she's like, they're standing at a table and she has her like back to the cameras and she's trying to cook on the wrong side of the table. Pretty funny. So the way that she made it, she kind of has this whole system where she claims like she had to make it quite a few times, and he'd been out on tour and he brought it back, the recipe. And it was like, or just the idea of the recipe. I don't know if he knew exactly how to make it. And then she had to sort of figure it out from what he told her about it. But do you know where he got his first peanut butter and banana sandwich?
You see, I don't know. Is this a Would You Believe segment?
It is not. It is not.
Oh,
and
okay.
I almost wrote one about this, but I actually I thought you may have actually just uncovered it.
Oh, no.
And I looked for a long time. Could not find any info on it.
As near as I could guess, I would say the first PB and Nanner was made from by Gladys. It's just everything that's in the sandwich. Your white bread, peanut butter, banana, and butter is something that, you could conceivably imagine in like a poverty-stricken household. It's like, well, at least we have this. I feel like I'm barking up the wrong tree here. What's the right answer?
Oh, no, I don't know. That's what I was saying. I really don't.
Okay.
I really don't know the answer to it. I was asking if you found it. So, yeah, because I couldn't find any evidence of them saying, well, it's a Gladys recipe or it's this. But from her interviews that I saw, she kind of claims that at one point, during the time that she worked for him, he had been out on tour. And so it must have been, I mean, it would have been in the 60s. You know, it would have been until like 1970 or something she would have made that. So she might not be totally right here with all this. So that's what she had said in the interview. But I think that kind of dates back. I would think you would be right. That it's probably Gladys.
I mean, he probably had the first one when he was like 2 years old, I'm guessing.
But yeah, her system for making them was she would toast the bread first. Then, generous helping of peanut butter on both pieces of bread. She would put peanut butter, lays down slices of banana, which, like I said, I always thought you would mash that, but whatever works. And then you put the two together, and then you have almost a whole stick of butter in the pan, and then you just keep flipping and frying and smashing it down until it's like soaks up a bunch of butter. And I'm going to say it's an intense sandwich because I did that. I followed her recipe, and it's a pretty heavy sandwich.
It really is. I only did one of these, It's like I really couldn't get anyone around the house to want to eat one with me. So I'm like, I guess I'm just doing this. So I did about a third of a stick of butter and had a pretty small pan and did everything. I'm realizing I didn't put peanut butter on both sides. I only did one side.
We'll forgive you. We'll allow it. Yeah. I think all the same things happened. Right?
Sure.
All the same flavor profile. I don't think it affects it. I don't think it's going to affect the flavor.
No, it's not. And for what it's worth, it was a pretty thick layer. But what I was pretty delighted to see in actually making one of these the right way is the thick golden brown crust that it develops, like cooking in all that butter. So anyway, you let that sit out for a second and it develops like this really nice crunch, which I never, I do grilled sandwiches all the time in a pan, like a sick idiot, but I never use that much butter. Like it just never happens. I mean, who does?
Yeah, it seemed crazy because I think if I were going to do it or you were going to do it, it's like you would just take a knife and put butter onto the outside of the bread and then just do it that way. Instead of like having melted butter in the pan and then laying it down into it.
Right.
It just seems like a death wish. Like you got a death wish. So
it's like you're trying to pan fry chicken.
Kind of, yeah. Exactly. Like if you had like a cast iron skillet with like about 2 inches of butter in it,
Jesus. God damn.
Sounds great in theory.
There's no denying it's a tasty sandwich.
It is very tasty, and like you said, it does develop that crunch to it that belies the fact that it was soaking in butter. You don't think it's going to do it. You're like, it's just going to be so soggy, and it's not. I mean, there's definitely a lot of butter in there, but it is pretty good. Did you like the consistency? If you were to redo it yourself, would you smash the banana, or did you like it sliced?
Personally, I feel like I could go either way. Obviously, the smashed spread is going to, just be a more cohesive sandwich. But, like, I understand with a lot of people it's a texture issue. And I've never personally been funny about bananas. And, I'll eat, like, a pretty well-browned banana and, like, not worry about it so much. But there's a lot of people it kind of, like, weirds them out. So maybe that was Elvis. Maybe he just wanted the coins, like, some sort of, like, recognizable, like, banana consistency in the middle of his sandwich and not just a flavor.
And it also probably has a little bit to do with just how it was made for you when you were a kid. It's how you decide that's how it's made. Like that's how you're going to want it in perpetuity. So I could go either way probably myself. But I didn't mind it once I put that generous amount of peanut butter on both sides. It's like I wasn't worried about banana slices sliding out the other side.
Yeah, good point. I also didn't smash my sandwich down a bunch when I was cooking it. Like I watched her on that Letterman segment and she's like really laying into it. And I didn't do that at all. I just kind of like let it sit and then flipped it.
I smashed it a little bit. I didn't go that crazy either because I didn't want it to be real thin. And I also kind of didn't want peanut butter to like be coming out of it, which is always an issue. You just don't want your peanut butter like oozing out.
No.
So.
Not desirable. But yeah, so file this under, I totally understand where you're coming from, Elvis.
Right.
It's like you like the sandwich. It's a working man's food. It's an indulgence. I really don't see how he could sit down and eat like multiples.
It would be really rough to do that. Now, you said, if I remember correctly, your kids had a slight variation that they liked.
Oh, yeah, they did. Because I made the sandwich on whatever day. And then the next day I'm like, I bet the kids would like this on some level. And they saw me putting it together, and, they love marshmallows. So they're like, oh, put like mini marshmallows on it. In some ways, that's like a weird little kid thing to ask for. But also it's like, hey, man, you guys just kind of invented a fluffernutter off the top of your heads. It's like you didn't even know about fluffernutters, and you just invented one. So yeah, I loaded it up with marshmallows and split it up between the two boys, and they took it down like crazy. They were like all about it.
So what's nice is they're doing that. Now I had an idea, and I had kind of texted you about this. So my idea is to take that a step further, and hear me out. And I think if you're into it, we could make this the official Suspicious Minds podcast sandwich.
Oh.
So the idea is you do the peanut butter and banana sandwich. You add the marshmallows as per your kids. You also add some chocolate. Then you dip in an egg, kind of like Monte Cristo style, and then fry it up in butter.
Ooh.
And I would call it the Gracelandia sandwich.
Okay. Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants. No, that sounds good. Like, what kind of chocolate are we talking about?
Well, I think that's per your taste. I mean, if you're a dark chocolate fan, I would go darker. I personally like the dark chocolate. If you like milk chocolate, but I don't think like Hershey's syrup or anything like that.
No.
I mean, if you want to stick real close to, say, like a s'mores type of thing, probably like pieces of Hershey bar or something like that. Or you could do sprinkle it with like maybe chocolate chips, like a Toll House chocolate chip thing.
Okay, like
maybe.
All right, like a semi.
I mean, I haven't made one yet. This is literally like just in theory. I was joking around with you about it, so I thought I'd bring it up on the show. So, no, if at some point I make one, I'll tell you if it's any good. So,
sure, yeah. I'll put it up on the gram.
Yeah, right. Awesome. So, yeah, I think both of us agree. If you have never made a peanut butter and banana sandwich before, watch that clip with Mary Jenkins Langston on Letterman, or there's a couple of pretty good versions of it. But yeah, lots of butter in there in the pan, sliced bananas. It's pretty good. Maybe get a couple of friends to split it with.
Sure. I will say, though, as far as like looking up recipes on YouTube about peanut butter and banana sandwiches, did you know that it is actually impossible to make a YouTube video about Elvis and not do an extremely offensive Elvis impression?
I'm aware of how hard we've had it trying to not do a bad Elvis impression on this show. And we've really walked that line a few times.
Sure, we have.
But I'm so glad that we don't do it. But I agree. Whenever you watch something that has something to do with Elvis, especially when it's peanut butter related or any food that Elvis would eat, it's low-hanging fruit, I guess, is what I would call it. Yeah.
It'd be like making like a YouTube video about like Jackie Chan and then like doing that voice for like half the video. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. I don't know why everybody seems to think it's like, okay.
It's like doing like a Mickey Rooney and Breakfast at Tiffany's kind of thing.
Right.
Which is just like, because that aged well.
Right.
Yeah.
But people just do what they do.
I guess they do. Well, we should probably start talking about the other sandwich that we did. It's called the Fool's Gold, or sometimes the Fool's Gold Loaf. I kind of agree that I like the Fool's Gold Loaf because it just sounds funnier.
Yeah, loaf is an inherently funny word.
Yeah, well, it's what you want to do after you eat it. So that was a sandwich that was originated in Colorado, just outside of Denver, Colorado, in a little place called Glendale, at a place called the Colorado Mine Company, and it was owned by, was it Buck and Cindy Scott?
Yes.
Now, the Fool's Gold Loaf was just like what they say is it's a loaf of Italian bread. Now, this is something I had always heard sliced down the middle, hollowed out, and then filled with peanut butter, jelly, and bacon.
Right.
Now I've seen it where they do sort of a triple decker, like Big Mac kind of style, where it's like they slice the bottom off and the top off, and they have a nice, healthy center layer of the loaf of bread. And then both of those are slathered with peanut butter and jelly and with bacon in between all the pieces. And the claim, an entire jar, but they don't say how much a jar is, like how many ounces, an entire jar of jelly and a pound of bacon on the sandwich. Now, I've also heard different recipes, when I made mine, at the end, I brushed it with butter and then baked it for a while just to get it nice and crisp and kind of warm it up, which I liked. I'm glad I did that. Now, did you do the same thing with yours?
I kind of basted mine in butter and baked it before I assembled it.
Oh, pretty slick.
Yeah, I did like about 15 minutes at 350, like a butter baste. Then it came out and then sliced top and bottom layers off and then assembled from there.
Right.
I think I maybe even let it sit out of the oven for a little while so I wasn't, attacking it hot.
Yeah, I let mine cool for a couple minutes after I took it out of the oven. I'm going to tell you, I liked it better than the peanut butter and banana. Like, straight away, I liked it. And maybe it's the bread itself. Instead of just being like sandwich bread, it's actually a good loaf of Italian bread. And then, of course, it's got bacon in it. And maybe just the flavor profile of peanut butter and jelly I'm just more used to. But yeah, a combination of all those things I thought were pretty good. Like, I really, yeah. Now, the weird thing about it is, like, the restaurant they sold it at, so you made one, I made one. It's peanut butter, it's jelly. Okay, the bacon's a little expensive, not that much. From around the time that Elvis got it, you can find this online. The menu is out there, $37.95 for the sandwich, which is equivalent to $195 today. So it's a $200 peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Now, it says it serves 8, though.
Right.
But when they say that, I would say, like, conservative portions, like kind of appetizer-sized portion. But still...
Well, I have some additional insight on that price tag on that menu. You take a restaurant like the Colorado Mine Company. As I understand it, they opened in the early 70s and were really catering to this Colorado oil boom that was happening in the early 70s. And there was a lot of like new rich people in the Denver area. And this is kind of like one of the places that was catering to that crowd. So it was, it's a menu filled with a lot of comfort food. It was a steakhouse.
Right.
Essentially, steaks and chops. You can get a nice piece of fish probably. But yeah, so anyway, it actually says on the menu that the price is negotiable on the Fool's Gold sandwich.
Okay.
And this is just, stuff I read on the internet. And what that meant was that the restaurant was this place that hired a certain kind of woman to be like a member of the waitstaff. You know what I mean? They were like hiring beautiful young ladies only. And what I've heard is that anything that they could get for this sandwich over $20, they just got to keep outright.
Oh, no kidding.
Right. And that was their like weirdo deal that they had going on with this sandwich. So they said like price is negotiable. Like, where do you ever see that on a menu? This is what I think was going on. And it was just kind of like a place that Denver high rollers hung out and sleazy old dudes. I mean, almost $40 for the sandwich. The surf and turf was $18.
Right. On their menu, I'm looking at it, a 24-ounce T-bone steak went for $12.95.
Right. So basically, like the Fool's Gold serves 8, I would believe that. And I imagine that was intended to be more like an appetizer for like the table of a bunch of sleazy dudes.
Right.
So anyway, that's what I think the deal was.
And I think that the first word in the name of the sandwich was who they were trying to get to buy it.
Right.
Yeah. So that would just be my take. But yeah, it's obviously, and the weird thing is it's something like you could so easily make it home, but to pay that amount for it. But you're right. It's like this nouveau riche. So I think that at some point, and I don't know exactly when, but at some point in the 70s, early to mid 70s, Elvis winds up going there and has that sandwich and really likes it. So he has this experience going to the restaurant. And at some point after that, decides that, and this would have been, the date, it was February 1st of 1976. He flies out there to Denver and then has the hangar he's at catered by the Colorado Mine Company with, was it 20?
22.
22 Fool's Gold loaves. And then they also had champagne and some other stuff. And I think they had the pilots out there too. So they think they had like Perrier or something for them. Or who knows? It was the 70s, so
Yeah, who cares?
Flying drunk probably wasn't that big of a deal. But they sat there and hungrily ate these sandwiches, and that was kind of a big deal. It was kind of talked about for a long time, and it's become sort of this legend that he flew out there just for these sandwiches and then left. So it's just like this sort of decadence of his life at that time.
Sure.
I think it just kind of speaks to that. And it's just kind of a crazy story. Like, hey, you want to go get the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? I know a great place. And he flew everybody out. So kind of a great story, and it's lived on, and it's something that has made that sandwich famous for a very long time afterwards.
Right. And just really kind of tied the concept of peanut butter and bacon to Elvis in this way that, like, once again, you look around on YouTube for like Elvis sandwich recipes, and almost all of them involved peanut butter, bananas, and bacon. And it's like, at no point did Elvis ever eat a sandwich like that.
Yeah.
They're just like kind of combining these two sandwiches into one thing. My thought is that Elvis really only had the fool's gold twice.
Maybe a couple of times, but definitely, I think he probably only ever set foot in the Colorado Mine Company restaurant probably one time. Mm-hmm. And then anytime else he would want to do that, he'd probably be in the Denver area and then have one brought to him, if that's what he did. But by all accounts, I think you looked that up. How many times did he play Denver?
4 times. And, one of them was in the 50s.
So that one didn't even count. So it didn't even exist then. So he played there about 3 times, 2 or 3 times after the place opened. So according to Elvis Day by Day, which is the Peter Guralnick and Ernst Jorgensen book. So on the 28th of January, Elvis was called out of town for the funeral of Denver police officer Eugene Kennedy, Captain Jerry Kennedy's brother. And Elvis arranged for J.D. Sumner and the Stamps to sing at the service. And he also wore a special tailored Denver police captain's uniform to the service. So he was there just a few days before the first. And I believe that Captain Jerry Kennedy was one of the people at the hangar with him.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, should be noted, Ron Petrofesso was also there. And he was like the director of some elite task force or something.
Yeah, like a strike force against crime, I think is what it's called.
Right.
Yeah.
So, once again, Elvis just like loving hanging out with cops. Just loved him some cops.
Yep, and he liked with the uniforms, like wearing them, which obviously he wore one to the funeral. Right. So,
which that's super weird to me. Like, do you think Elvis would like it if people showed up at his funeral wearing American Eagle jumpsuits?
Did anybody do that? Do you think?
I don't know. I think those people would have been run out of town on a rail. I don't think anybody would have put up with it.
Do you think he would have liked if somebody was outside of his funeral doing a Elvis impersonation, making a peanut butter, banana, and bacon sandwich?
Right.
Yeah.
With, those
sunglasses with the sideburns on them?
Yeah. That's exactly where I was going with that.
Yeah, and like a Party City or whatever the costume place where you get the bad Elvis jumpsuits. Is that Party City?
Party City.
Party City? Yeah. There's a plug for you, Party City. So we do know he was in that area, so, the story does pretty much check out. And why lie about it? But speaking of lying about it...
Oh, my God.
Yeah, there's a guy who worked for the Colorado Mine Company, and his name is Nick Andurlakis. Is that his name?
Yes, Nick Andurlakis.
Okay. So this guy, he kind of shows up a lot when you look up stuff about this sandwich. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, a lot of the things that he says that just kind of don't check out too much. So he would have been around 16 at the time that Elvis did this. In 76, he would have been about 16, but he did work for the restaurant. So that's legit. Mm-hmm. But he has made claims for years after that. After the original restaurant closed, he opened up a place called Nick's Cafe, continued to sell the Fool's Gold Loaf, triple-decker style. But he claims that he's the one that talked to Elvis on the phone, that he took the order, that he met him when he originally came to the restaurant, and that he was the person that took the sandwiches to the hangar. Mm-hmm. But Cindy and Buck Scott, the owners of the restaurant, also claim to have been the ones to take all this stuff to the airport when they came. And I would kind of figure that the owners of the restaurant, Cindy and Buck, would be the ones that were like, it's Elvis, we're going to drive this stuff out there.
Right.
You know, whatever time of day or night, they're going to want to meet him. And what a story to tell. Like, they're not going to be like, let's have this 16-year-old kid go do it.
Right. And, here's the thing, though. It's like the story is all the more plausible being that February 1st was a Sunday. So I am imagining that, like, Colorado Mine Company was, like, open till midnight.
Probably.
On a Sunday because, they're a place where people, like, partied. So I'd be willing to bet that the call came in to that restaurant while they were still open. It wasn't like calling in the middle of the night type of situation.
Right.
Because they met them at the airport with the sandwiches at 1:40 a.m. So they were definitely still open when the call came in.
For sure.
But
I don't think we looked that up, but hold on. I'm going to see if we can find out how long of a flight that would be.
I read it was 2 hours, or at least 2 hours for the Lisa Marie.
So it's about a 2-hour flight then. So so they would have called. I don't think they probably would have called from the plane, but they probably set it up like, hey, we're going to fly there. We're going to be there at this time. But yeah, it would be the owners. The owners would do that.
Right. And the way that this Nick character would have you believe that Elvis called him personally and like woke him up and is like, well, I guess I will make these sandwiches for you. Like a 16-year-old, not to be weird or anything, I would buy it if it was like a 16-year-old girl that Elvis was like talking to in this way.
Right. And her first name was Priscilla. Yeah.
You're right. Calling her bedroom late at night. Right. Hey, I need something special from you in the middle of the night.
Right. And the word loaf being used.
God damn it.
But once again, there is a video of him where I think he actually weeps during it.
Yeah.
Where he's talking about how kind Elvis was and this and that. And it's just really sketchy. But I understand that his whole business is built on, if you saw Nick's Cafe, every surface is covered in Elvis memorabilia. Mm-hmm. Because he's built his whole reputation on, I met Elvis, I made these sandwiches for him, we're buddies. Mm-hmm. There's no pictures of the two together unless they're photoshopped pictures.
Oh, my God. And just all the YouTube videos about this guy tend to be like local news segments.
Correct.
And the thing is, I don't know if this is laughable or not, but just like makes me really distrust journalism. No one's looking into this guy's story at all. He's making these pretty heavy, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
He's making some very bold claims.
Right,
but the thing
bold
is,
claims, sure.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's really not hurting anybody. So I think it's just like a feel-good piece. But the one thing that he does, there's a YouTube video called The Last Fool's Gold Sandwich. Mm-hmm. And they have him there making the sandwich. And he used bacon bits.
Yes.
Which it's just, that's not what the sandwich is. It's, it's like a pound of bacon goes into it or whatever.
Right,
and he's like sprinkling some bacon bits on it to give you the simulated thing. And that's always the thing that kills me with restaurants is when they start cutting corners like that. It's like, we used to have mixed greens and now it's just romaine. Or we used to have pine nuts, but now it's sliced almonds or something. These like small little things they do to save money. And I get it, bacon's not the cheapest ingredient, but it's also not the most expensive. And, if you're charging $50 a sandwich, I think you could swing for the bacon. But
well, I don't think he was charging that much at his own cafe.
Oh, was his price also negotiable?
Yeah. Who the hell knows? It's like he would probably just give it to you free if you just stood there and like watched him weep for a few minutes.
So going back to the bacon bits, though,
right?
Like, what do you think Elvis would do if he saw that guy making that sandwich?
Man, if Elvis had seen that, he would have shot him like a hotel TV.
Agreed. I think I totally agree with that. Well, his restaurant shuttered anyway, so it caught up to him.
But, they just closed in 2022, which is like one of those curious cases of lockdown was in 2020, and that hit restaurants particularly hard. And it's like the weird phenomenon of, I've seen this a lot where restaurants kind of like hung in there throughout the entirety of lockdown. And then basically everything kind of returns to some semblance of normalcy. And then they immediately close, you know?
Right.
It's kind of weird. It's like you weathered that storm for what exactly? But this Andurlakis guy, you know, I think he cries in every interview because that's how he's processing the like guilt he feels about like lying about everything all the time.
Yeah, and it's probably a real hard to like call a guy out as a liar when he's actively crying in front of you. You know, I'm guessing.
It's a great defense mechanism.
Yeah, exactly. It's worked for him. Yeah,
right.
You know, for years up until 2022, it worked like a charm.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I don't want this to be like any character assassination or whatever, but what a goddamn charlatan this guy is.
Yeah, but the one thing that I will say is that regardless of all of that, at least he kept the sandwich going. So he did do that. There was a place you could go, and he is a guy who did work in that restaurant and carried on the tradition of making the sandwich. So there is that, and he could have just been that. Like, hey, I worked at this restaurant and did this, but he just had to step it up about, you know, and he also said that he was invited to Elvis's funeral in that one interview that he did, which I'm going to say I highly doubt that.
Right. And doesn't he also like brandish a TCB necklace and say that like that came from Elvis?
I didn't see that one.
Or am I imagining that? Because yeah, there's like absolutely no way he would have gotten a TCB necklace. That's fucking crazy. It just, it really bothers me. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It's like, not only do you have to only know like a little bit about Elvis to completely dispute all this guy's claims, it would also like just have like a little bit of knowledge of working in like the service industry. And it's like, shit, that's not how any of that stuff works. How he claimed that at age 16 or 17, he was running the kitchen at the Colorado Mine Company.
Right.
Which you and me both know there's like absolutely no way. A high-end steakhouse in the 70s, you know, being run by a 16-year-old kid. I mean, good God.
He might have been like head of dishwashers.
Or like first mate of the dish pit. I would buy that.
Probably, yeah. You're probably right.
For crying out loud. The guy bugs me.
He does. He bugs me too. Yeah. So last word on the Fool's Gold. So when you made yours, what was your reaction to it?
I enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to. I guess I have never had one of those before, but I was really not looking forward to the combo of jelly and bacon. Peanut butter and bacon I'm okay with, but I thought it worked as a sandwich. I mean, it's just kind of like a big, weird sandwich to be eating, but it's something I would definitely revisit in the future.
You know, I agree. Let's see, I made one years ago for a party. And I had, you know, just a small portion of it. And I liked it then, but it's been so many years ago, I didn't really remember. I mean, obviously I've had peanut butter and jelly since then, but I had not revisited that particular sandwich. And I'm going to say, I kind of had the same reaction. I was like really shocked at how much I enjoyed it. I was like, this is really good. You know, all jokes aside, I would make it again. Much sooner than I would make a peanut butter and banana sandwich again. Although that was also, it had its own merits. This one I think was definitely good, definitely worth checking out. So what I would say is if you do make it, the version I would go with is the triple decker style. And that's what I didn't do the first time. Maybe that's what I liked about it, was it kind of kept everything a little separate. So it wasn't just like a big mass of peanut butter and jelly and bacon in the middle. It was sort of like separated in there. And I think that's why, maybe that's what I liked about it.
Right. Adds some structure to the whole thing. Because all the recipes that I'd read, you know, I'd always read that they hollowed out the inside of the bread to allow for like all the peanut butter and jelly. And it just becomes a big globby mess. So I do think you need that middle bread to kind of like make, you could actually pick it up and eat this thing.
Yep, exactly. It ate like a meal, I'll tell you that though. I was well impressed, so definitely thumbs up to the Fool's Gold. And like I said, a slight edge over the peanut butter and banana sandwich in my book. So
yeah, I would say I enjoyed it more as well. Really, both these sandwiches I give like 8 out of 10.
I would say that too. Yeah.
PB and Nanner, maybe a 7 out of 10. But yeah, Fool's Gold, good stuff. I ended up bringing mine to work. I'm like, I'm not going to eat all this. So I brought it to work. Everybody loved it.
Yeah, anytime you bring something like that to work, they're just gonna be happy. The only thing that's gonna be better than that is cake. If you bring cake with you, people seem to like cake. So now we've kind of gone over the sandwiches. I think it's time to go back to 1976 in the Wayback Machine.
Yeah, welcome to the Wayback Machine. Tonight we're looking at Sunday, February 1st, 1976, the night that Elvis and the Denver cops went and got those sandwiches. The number one movie in the country, The Sunshine Boys.
Nice.
Yeah, not bad. Number one TV show I could not find, but that date is significant in that it was the first episode of Rich Man, Poor Man aired that night. Number one song in the country. It's a pretty good one. Love Roller Coaster by the Ohio Players.
Ooh, that is good. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a deeply good number one hit to have. And best of all, number one album in the country, Earth, Wind, and Fire's Gratitude.
Wow.
That's the one with Shining Stars on.
I'm going to say February 1st, 1976 kind of had it going on.
Yeah, for real. Like, looking back at the charts, it could feel like it can go one way or the other. It's the 70s. Sometimes it's just, like, unbelievably hip. And other times it's like, oh, my God, just a big mess.
And was the number one car sold at that point the Chrysler LeBaron?
It was the Stutz Blackhawk.
He would have had one of them back then, for sure.
Yeah, I think all of his shit was, like, early 70s. Let me see.
Yeah. Well, what we didn't mention before you did the Wayback Machine is because I'm about to get into some Would You Believes, which I know is your favorite segment of the show.
Oh, absolutely.
Right after the main body of it and then the Wayback Machine. But both of these segments brought to you by a new sponsor, which is, it's called Relationship.
Ooh, tell me more.
What it is, it's a service that delivers snacks to your door on a monthly basis. You join it, and every month you get chips and snacks delivered to you. And they have a little ad. It's tired of the same old thing? Ready to put yourself out there and try something new? Introducing Relationship, the new monthly snack club. Stop hanging out with dips and find a relationship. With snacks this good, you'll never snack alone. And that sponsor, once again, is bringing you not only the Wayback Machine, but Would You Believe? So, talking of Would You Believe, I got a couple of them here.
Okay, hit me.
All right. So, according to a story, this is from Gladys and Vernon, the young Elvis Presley used to hide the jars of Skippy peanut butter when company was going to come over because he was scared that they would take it or eat it when they were at the house. Would you believe?
That sounds pretty Elvis. I'm going to say I do believe that.
That is true. That is absolutely true.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I got a few of these. So another fun Elvis peanut related Would You Believe? So Elvis, being a huge peanut butter fan, did not like peanut brittle because he didn't like the way that it stuck to his teeth. Would you believe?
I am also choosing to believe that.
No, I made that one. I'm sorry.
I'm too trusting.
That is also true. I would believe that. So here's another one. Would you believe that Scatter was also a huge fan of peanut butter and Elvis would give him jars of peanut butter as a treat?
Ooh, boy. I am going to say I do not believe that one.
Good. Okay, you got that. So,
okay. Good.
Yep. Now, here's a fun one. So Elvis, obviously associated with the peanut butter and banana. So much so that the Hershey Company produced a limited edition peanut butter and banana cream Reese's Peanut Butter Cup to commemorate the 30th anniversary of his death. Would you believe?
I am going to not believe that.
That is true.
Oh, crap. That actually happened?
That actually happened. Yeah, I didn't know that. That was really crazy, too.
Wow.
Yep.
How did we not know that? That's crazy.
I don't know, man. It somehow slipped through the cracks of our fact-finding. We'll have to talk to the research department about that here at Suspicious Minds to see what's going on with that. All right. So I have two more.
Okay.
Would you believe the Colorado Mine Company once attempted to set the Guinness World Record for the largest peanut butter and jelly sandwich ever made? And the sandwich was over 30 feet long, required over 1,000 jars of peanut butter and jelly to create. And although they did not set the record, the sandwich was donated to a local food bank and reportedly fed thousands of hungry people. Would you believe?
That sounds kind of like cocaine 70s. I am going to believe that.
Nope, that is false. I made that one up. Yep.
Damn it.
You're doing okay, though. You know,
better than usual.
Absolutely. And now the final, would you believe? So Ginger Alden, Elvis's fiance at the time of his death, claims that during the time that they were together, she never saw Elvis eat a peanut butter and banana sandwich. Would you believe?
I would believe that. I just don't think she was around that much.
That's true. She did claim that she had never seen them. So you got that one right. So I think he did 50-50.
All right.
Yeah, not bad. So that's Would You Believe? And that one's in the book. So let's see. Wade, anything else you want to cover before we start wrapping this episode up?
Sure. Back on this Andurlakis guy.
Okay, let's get back on him.
I saw a video where he made the fool's gold sandwich and plated it up. And on the platter was orange slices, kiwi slices, and tomato slices.
Where was that? Why would you have that combination of things?
I don't know. I mean, oranges and kiwis even, it's like whatever. They're both like fruits. So I would kind of understand that.
Well, and technically tomato is a fruit, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but...
Yeah, the flavor profile is all weird.
That is psychotic. And it's all kind of like gooped on top of each other, too, not separated into little piles.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you this, like straight up, if you get that sandwich, you don't need anything else with it. You don't need sides. You don't need, I'm going to have some fruit. And obviously, you're not even interested in fruit. If you're eating a sandwich that is a jar of peanut butter, a jar of jelly, and a pound of bacon, the last thing on earth you are worried about consuming is fruit. That's just my opinion.
And it's just another layer of madness to this Nick's Cafe saga.
Agreed.
I totally agree. I just don't get it. Don't get it.
Well, once again, they're shuttered now, so it's nothing we got to worry about anymore. Well, I think we did it. We talked about much about peanut butter. I didn't think we'd do this long on peanut butter, really.
Yeah, well, there's just so much to talk about. So, Kiss surely played Denver in the 70s. Do you think, like, Gene Simmons ever went to Colorado Mining Company?
If there were ladies there, yes, Gene Simmons was probably there. Because that was kind of his vice, right? He's not a drinker, not doing drugs. I bet he would be there.
Two things Gene Simmons could really appreciate is foxy ladies and enormous meals.
I would be shocked if he ever ordered a fool's gold loaf. Yeah, I don't think he would have done that.
Yeah.
I think he would have been T-bone steak or something like that. That would have probably been Gene Simmons.
Sure. I bet David Lee Roth would have ordered the fool's gold loaf.
Sure, like for the table or something. Like him and Steve Vai and who was the bass player?
Bobby Sheehan.
Yeah, there you go. That was a great band for DLR, man. That was a great band.
The DLR band.
There are no Van Halen, but if you're going to put together kind of a super group after leaving Van Halen, he made some good choices.
He did, and they're all excellent musicians, but the thing is, you can't have everybody playing awesome all at the same time, and that's kind of like why a lot of that stuff just doesn't land like Van Halen does.
Sure. I hear you. That first album, though, was really good.
Yeah, it's good.
Got some good tunes. Well, I guess we should kind of go over a few things before we end the episode here. Once again, if you ever need to get in touch with us for whatever reason, you can always contact us at suspiciousmindspodcast77@gmail.com. Or if you want to send a text or call and leave a voicemail, you can call us at 773-389-4276. The Suspicious Minds Podcast hotline. And where can they find us on social media there, Wade?
Well, if you still do that Facebook thing, just look up Suspicious Minds Podcast with Wade and Burl. And you can be one of the dozens of people that enjoy our Facebook presence. Or you can go where all the cool kids go on Instagram, where we are at Suspicious Minds Podcast. Lots of new content popping up all the time, mostly unaltered photos. I don't like to overlay a bunch of crap on top of stuff or try to smooth it out digitally. Just like a lot of raw photos of Elvis from various points in his career. Sometimes some lively debate, sometimes not. But yeah, check us out on Instagram.
All right. You know what? I feel like I got to go exercise. Just talking about eating all that peanut butter.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. If you're going to take on this challenge, get a pedometer, at least 10,000 steps a day leading up for maybe a week and like a week afterwards. You'll be fine. But anyway, just top tip from here.
Sure. Space these sandwiches out. Give yourself at least 5 days in between the two of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So I certainly did. I think we did one weekend and one the other weekend. So
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that's about it for this episode. I want to thank you again. I have been Burl.
And I am Wade.
And we're getting out of this episode. All right.
Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, we got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Thank you. Good night.